Good morning, everyone, and how are you doing? Welcome back to our Mobile App Academy, where we show you how to build mobile apps on the ServiceNow platform. My name is David Hott, and I'm an outbound product manager here at ServiceNow, and I want to give a warm welcome to everyone joining us live. For today's session, we'll be covering a very special topic that I'm sure many of us can relate to, and it's working from home and how our mobile solution at ServiceNow can help your organization digitally innovate and keep pace during these times where digital transformation has never been more important than ever. As we see more countries go into lockdown and employees are having to adapt to new work environments working from home. And so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to re-showcase some of the daily mobile workflows that many organizations can encounter and what you can take advantage of and being able to implement within your own organization. So during this pandemic, having easy to access self-service solutions and providing tools for your employees to have information readily available at your fingertips has never been so important. Whether it's being able to manage approvals, requesting a password reset, or even asking for help. Even with the lockdown in place, all these things are super essential. And the expectation here is, being able to get work done should still be simple, easy, and fast to do. And so in today's session, we will be doing just that. I will be doing a walkthrough end-to-end, a mobile workflow in New York on how quick and easy it is to get started with mobile. And within this workflow, we'll be covering the following. Starting with a French instance in New York, we will enable both the ServiceNow Agent app as well as the Now Mobile app. And on the Now Mobile app, I'll show you the out-of-the-box experiences that are readily available to use. And how little and no configuration really needs to be done to get your requesters or employees access to approvals, KB articles, and service requests. And then on the Agent app, I'll show you one of the many out-of-the-box experiences that we have on Agent. I'll enable the ITSM mobile experience so that once employees make that request on the Now Mobile app, the request will open up an instant. And as a fulfiller on the Agent app, I'll log in to the out-of-the-box ITSM experience. And then I'll go in there and assign the incident to myself to complete that task. And that will be the end of that workflow. And if we have time, I'll show you as a system admin, what are all the different things that I can do to personalize and customize these out-of-the-box experiences in both these apps. Whether it's adding new functions on the Now Mobile app so that actions are more accessible to your employees, or applying UI styles to your Agent app so that your fulfillers immediately see the most important work assigned to them at any moment. So if you've attended any of our mobile app academies in the past, some of this information may be a repeat to you, but today's session will put together some of our past learning so far into one continuous mobile workflow. And I'll show you what that looks like today. So without a further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into it. Okay. So let me log into my instance really fast. Okay. So to get started, I'm gonna walk through some of the enablement and plugin instructions that you would need to enable both the Agent app and the Now Mobile app. So first thing to take note, in order to use the Now Mobile app, your instance must be upgraded to New York. And once you're upgraded to New York, all you have to do is enable a single plugin. So let's go to our plugin list. And if you take a look at our plugin list, give it a second to load. I'm going to search for com.glide.mobile-employee. So this, to activate this plugin, you'll need to log in with an admin role. And again, this is the only plugin that I would need to enable the Now Mobile app. And you can see I already have this installed, so I'm good to go, and I'm ready to use that app. To use the ServiceNow Agent app, the core plugins are automatically enabled already upon upgrade to either Madrid or New York. So the only plugin for us to get started is, if you wanted to use any of the out-of-the-box experiences, we have a lot of BU apps that are available, like ITSM, ITAM, ITBM, and some new others. But for today's example, we're going to use ITSMs. So let's go ahead and look up ITSM Mobile. And we'll have this installed along with the demo data. So this is the only plugin I'll need for today. And that's pretty much all we need to enable our agent and Now Mobile app flows. And So once you have both apps uh, downloaded and installed onto your phone, as you can see on my mobile device, I have both the Agent app and Now Mobile app. I can now pull up my app. So let's go ahead and jump into the Now Mobile app first. And once I'm logged in, I will immediately see my pre-built experiences for Now Mobile. These are already available upon the plugin activation. I didn't have to make any configuration to get any of this to work. And in our previous mobile app academies, I showed you how to do things like configure my request, add new services, add KB articles to my information tab. Um, these are all things that you can do. You can do things like add new fields to some of these reports, or any of those configurations that you want to do within this app. And I'd recommend checking out our ServiceNow community channel on YouTube. And if you haven't already, feel free to check out those videos if you need to catch up on getting familiar with the Now Mobile pre-built experiences and some of the basic configurations that you do. So now that we have our Now Mobile app, I'll just give you a quick refresher. So immediately upon enablement, I can see that my out of the box, that my employees already have immediate access to their task, to their request, services, and KB articles here. And in my task, I can see all of my approvals here. I can jump into the details of these approvals and immediately accept or reject with a tap of a button. Approvals are something that usually gets lost in email. And the nice thing about managing approvals on mobile is that you can see it all in one place, essentially. So you can really create this regular cadence with yourself, check within the app and manage those approvals instead of always trying to dig through your emails and trying to find those approvals for employees, which can be time sensitive sometimes. And you can even do things like trigger a push notification to your app so that you can quickly approve them if you aren't in front of a computer. So mobile truly removes the pain in managing approvals and allows you to really do them anywhere. Okay, so next we also have my request, which are all the different service requests that I have currently. I have requests across different tables like incidents, rhythms, and REQs. And all of this can be managed from my request applet. And then I also have my services tab where I can request and self-service my own services, such as creating a new email account, doing a password reset, all these things you can do within the services tab. And then on my KB article tab, I can self-service my own KB articles. I can either browse through them to see what KB articles I have available in my organization, or I can use this global search bar and I can look up things like password reset. And then you'll see the available KB articles based on that search. Okay, so those are pretty much the out-of-the-box flows that we have on our Now Mobile app. And so now what I'm going to do next is walk you through an end-to-end scenario of what it would look like, if I am an employee and I submit a request on this Now Mobile app. How will this request get passed over to the fulfiller on the agent app? And how will that agent fulfill that request using some of our out-of-the-box experiences? And before we do that, let me show you a quick demo of what is available out of the box on the agent app. So if I open up my agent app, since I installed the ITSM mobile plugin, we'll immediately see the out-of-the-box ITSM mobile experience. So what I have here out of the box are a bunch of applets that show me my instance that are assigned to me on top. I have active critical, VIP instance, and so forth. And if I click into my active critical instance, I can see a list of all critical instances that are assigned to me and all the fields that are most important to me. All the information is configurable by the system admin. The idea here is only present the few fields or actions that I need to work as an agent, so that I can jump into the app and get the information that I need, and be able to quickly add comments or resolve them. And I can do things like swipe, where I can resolve, reassign, or add comments. So let's go ahead and add a comment to this. We'll say working on it, and then test. Okay, we'll submit that. So in just a couple seconds, you can add a comment really quickly to a record. Or I can jump into the details and see things like additional fields. I have also top menu actions here with other functions that I'd want my users to have access to. I have this activity stream where I can see the related work notes, comments, field changes that are on this record. And I can add files, PDFs, or even use my native camera to attach photos if I wanted to. And then also have related lists that come within this record. So that's what you can do with my active critical instance. And then below it are my group instance, where you can actually see unassigned instance by assignment groups. You can see that there's a couple records right now, or a couple instances that are currently unassigned, but they have an assignment group, one for network and one for software. And the other applets are configured similarly. And then in my approvals tab, which also comes with the ITSM mobile experience in New York, you can see your pending approvals here as well. So, as the employee from the Now mobile app submits a request, this agent may have permission to either approve or reject this, depending on the information. And as an agent, I can approve and reject from this view here. So that's what we have for this out-of-the-box ITSM mobile experience. So, you can see as I go through this workflow, the out-of-the-box gives me a nice template to use. But if it doesn't quite match everything that I need, I can bring in the system admin, quickly modify some of these experiences. Whether I need the report to show different tables, or I need different actions for my users, or show different fields. All of these things can be configured, and I'll show you just how quick and easy this is to do in just a few minutes. Okay, so let me walk you through today's use case now. So to get started, imagine this. I am an employee, I'm working from home, and I get locked out of my email on desktop. And so something that I can do is, I can jump into our Now mobile app. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for password reset. And I want to submit a request to IT that I need my email password to be reset. So in this global search bar, I'm going to look for password reset. And then I'm going to open up this password reset form. And then I'm going to fill out some of these fields on this form. So I want this password reset for David, which is this employee logged in. And the application password that I want to reset is my email. So I'll search for email. And I want the agent to contact me over phone. So it wouldn't make sense for them to email me if I'm already locked out. So I'll go ahead and click submit. And now it's telling me that an instant record has been created on my behalf. Right, so what we're going to do next is we're actually going to look up this incident on my instance. And I want to see what records were filled in, or what fields were filled in for me, or auto-populated on this instant. So this instant number is 13, so let's go ahead and look that up. I'm going to look up for 13. It's going to be this first incident here. So this was the incident that was automatically created for me when I submitted a service request on my Now mobile app, right? So you can see some of the fields that were pre-populated for me. The caller is David. The category is inquiry help. And you can see that this is a new incident with a priority of 5. The only thing that's missing here right now is the assignment group and the assigned to. They're both blank. In order for this to populate over to my agent, the out-of-the-box experience that I have are currently set so that the records on agent only show if the incident has an assignment group or it's assigned to that agent. So there's a few ways that I can approach this. As a system administrator, I can either create a business rule to auto-assign these new instances being generated based on the category, state, and priority. Or I can modify the pre-existing templates that I have, on my agent app. So if I wanted to modify the queries on these applets, I can do that. I would just have to jump into the data item on the agent app and modify the conditions on the data item, to show all instances where assignment group is empty. Or, I can create a brand new applet and capture these new type of records that's being populated. So, how you approach it really depends on your business need. But in today's example, I think I'll create a brand new applet to capture these new records from our agent. And I'll show you just how quick and easy it is to do using Mobile Studio. So let's go and do that now. Since we are configuring the out-of-the-box experience on the agent app, we can do this inside of Mobile Studio. So on our instance, on our left-hand nav bar, let's go ahead up and look up Mobile Studio. And here, this will show you all your pre-built experiences that you've enabled based on your plugins. So let's scroll down to ITSM Mobile. And these are all of the components that come in with ITSM Mobile for your agent app. So what we want to do here is we want to create a new applet. We'll click Create an Applet. And let's name this applet unassigned instance, because that's what they are when they populate over from the Now Mobile app. We'll give it an icon and color. I can add a description if I wanted to, and I can enable it offline if I wanted to. But for now, let's just select the list template. And this list template will come over with a form as well. Okay, now I need to create a new data item. And this data item is essentially, what tables do I want to pull from for these records? And if there's any queries that I'd want to apply to this applet. So we'll create a new data item. And we'll also name this unassigned incident. Data item. The table will be the instant table. I can have this declarative or scripted if I wanted to. We'll keep it declarative because I don't need a script for this simple condition. And the condition that I want to set is state is new. What we're trying to capture are the records that will be pulled over when an employee submits a password reset. And so the state is always going to be new, and the assignment group is always going to be empty. And the category is inquiry help. Okay, so these are going to be my conditions. I'll go ahead and click save on this data item. We'll go back to the applet that I started, and we'll select the data item that we just created. Okay, and now on this list applet, I have an ability to change the patterns of my header if I wanted to, but I will leave it just as default because I like the template that's currently providing me. So for E1, let's pull over 6 fields. If you can see on my right side, these are how the fields are going to be populated on this pattern. So for E1, let's bring over priority. E2, or actually let's bring over state. We want state to be on top. And then we'll bring over number for E2. Priority will set to E6. E3 will be short description. And then E4 will be caller, avatar, and caller. Okay, and then on the form screen, which is essentially like a detail screen, I'm going to replicate from primary for the header view. And if I wanted to bring over more fields in the body, I can. So let's go ahead and bring over category, impact, and urgency as well. Okay, then we'll go ahead and click save when we're done. And then the very last thing, what we want to do is, since the incident that will be populated on this applet that I'm going to bring over to my agent app. I'm going to want this agent to be able to reassign this incident to themselves. Since I'm logged in as an agent, I want an action so that I can either swipe or put it in the top menu where I can execute an action that says, update this incident so that this record is assigned to me. And I know that ITSM already has a reassign action. It's called reassign incident. So I could create a new action if I wanted to, but I already know that ITSM has an out-of-the-box one. And so to minimize the work that I need to do, I can just leverage this action that's already been created for me. The nice thing about having Mobile Studio is once you create an action, you can reuse it anywhere if you'd like. If it applies to the same tables and it applies to the visibility conditions that you'd want. And essentially, I don't have any specific conditions. If I open up this reassign incident, I can see that the condition on this function is the assignment group is not empty and the assigned to is not empty. So it looks like this action that's currently being used on the ITSM applets, the action actually won't show if both of these fields aren't empty. So I'm actually going to remove these conditions. That way I can stay out of the box and I can leverage this action within my own applet. And it's not going to really disrupt the existing out of the box. So I'm not too worried. So I remove those two conditions and now I should be able to use this action within my own applet. So going back to my own applet for unassigned incident, I'm going to go into functions and we're going to add this to the swipe functions of my list applet. And we're going to call this reassign. And then we'll go and look for that reassigned incident that ITSM has already created for me. So we'll look for reassign. And it's called reassign incident. I'll make it a left swipe, and we'll click save. And I can also put this on the form screen as well as a top menu function. So we'll create a new top menu function for reassign, and we'll select the same reassign action. And then we'll go ahead and click save. Okay. So now the very last step is now that I have my actions associated to my applet, I've created my applet, and I have a data item. All I have to do is create a new UI section, right? I need to put my applet that I've created somewhere on this applet launcher. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new UI section that's an item section. That way you can swipe between records immediately from the home screen. So let's look for this incident applet launcher. It's called Instant. And then I'm going to create a new UI section. Let's go ahead and call this UI section incidents without assignment group. We want it to be an item section. And then we'll select a list applet that we just created, which is unassigned incident. And then we'll go and click create new. And then we'll save. Okay, so now if I refresh my home screen, I should now see my unassigned instance. I actually want it to populate on top, at the very top, so I can actually move it from the bottom to top and click save again. So it looks a little better. Okay, sweet. So if I, now that I can see my unassigned incident applet, if I click see all, I should be able to find the incident that I created earlier as an employee. I believe it was incident number 13. So I can either scroll between these and look for it, or I can use my filter in the top right and look for 13. and there's that incident there. So from here, I can click into the record to see more information. As an agent, maybe my workload is freeing up, so I can take on more work, and I'll jump into this unassigned incidents applet report to see what incidents are available to me, and if my skills match up, maybe I'll look into this record. It's a simple reset the password for David on email. This is something that I can do as an agent. So, I can use the top menu action to reassign this to myself, or I can use a swipe and reassign it. And this looks like it's a software request. So I'm going to select the software assignment group. And then I'm going to assign this to myself. And then we'll go ahead and click submit. Perfect. So I got the success message that it has been reassigned. And if I refresh this applet, that record should disappear. So now if I scroll down, I won't see incident number 13 anymore because the conditions on this applet is to only show unassigned incidents that don't have an assignment group and don't have an assigned to person. But if I refresh the home applet, and now if I click into my instance, my active instance, I should see the incident that's now assigned to me. And at the very top, I see incident number 13, which has just recently been assigned. It's now a work in progress incident. So if I tap into it, let's say I'm an agent and I go into the activity stream, I'm working on it, I can add notes to it. I can take a picture and add a picture if I wanted to, use photo. And when I'm done with this record, I can go to the top menu and resolve it. We'll say the resolution code is solved permanently. Resolution notes, updated password. Okay, so now that this incident has been resolved, you'll see the state change from in progress to resolved. And if I refresh this list, it should disappear from active instance. And then out of the box, I also have this applet for resolved instance. And you can see all the work that I've resolved here. Okay, perfect. So that's kind of an end-to-end flow of what the experience is like to get work done, from an employee submitting a request to that incident being passed over to your agent, and then completing that work on the agent app. So I stayed mostly out of the box, and hopefully this gives you a better idea of what's available out of the box. Also how to get started thinking about mobile and what it feels like taking these pre-built experiences and what you can do immediately once some of those plugins have been enabled. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to show you, how do you personalize some of these experiences. So I mostly stayed out of the box. Now I'm going to switch over to, small modifications that I can do to personalize the experiences for either my agent or for my employee. I'm going to start with the agent app. And one of the things that I can do to personalize this app is, I want these records that are important to me to pop out, right? So if there are any brand new incidents that are currently assigned, I want these to pop up red. That way, as soon as I jump in to this app, this will be the first thing I see. These are the records that are most important to me, and they will pop out, and it kind of fixates my eyes so that I can see that it's important. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to configure a UI style. And UI styles you can build within Mobile Studio. So let's go ahead and create a new one now. I'm going to create a new UI style. Let's call this UI style instance state is new. It's going to pull from the incident table. And the condition is whenever the instance state is new. And the field name is going to be state from the incident table. And now for the styles, background colors and font colors, these are just hex values. It was really up to you how you want to format these. But if you look at our product docs, we actually have some guidelines for UI styles if you want them to look good. So if I look up UI styles, I have some default patterns here. So if I click create UI style, I scroll down. Here are some of the combinations of patterns, so background colors and text colors that you can use. So let's use this first one. If the state is new, I'm going to have it pop up red. So we'll use this hex color for the background color. And then we'll take this cherry wood text color for the text, for the font. And then we'll go and submit this. Okay, so I've just created a new UI style. Now, in order for this UI style to be applied, I need to open up, I need to associate it to an applet, right? This UI style doesn't know where to go until it's put somewhere. So I'm gonna open up my unassigned instance applet, which we just created. And on this list screen, this is a header pattern. So it's I'm first going to show it on this list screen. And you can see the available UI styles that I have that I can use. These are out of the box UI styles that have already been created from the ITSM mobile scope. And it looks like it wants me to use the one that's already been created for me. So I'll actually just use this out of the box one. And then I'll click save. Oh wait, this is instance state. Did I use when I created the UI style, what field did I use? Was it state? What did I call it? Incident is oops. What did I call my UI style? Oh, instance state is new. Okay, perfect. Okay, I selected the right one. So let's go ahead and open up my applet again for unassigned instance. So yeah, so the UI style that's gonna highlight is gonna be pulling from your template. And if you look at your patterns, it's wherever the field that's highlighted is what's gonna be applied, right? So on E1, you see that resolved is green. This is where your UI style is going to be applied. If I chose pattern number 2, you'll see that E2 it would be applied, and then for pattern 4, you can see E1 is being applied. So in E1, I have the state field that's being highlighted, and so this list of UI styles, the only fields that will show up are if these fields or these conditions have the field state. And so that's why I pulled over the instance state is new. And then I can go ahead and click save. And if I refresh my screen, I should see the UI style being applied. There, okay. So now I can see whenever the instance is new, it'll pop up red. And if I click see all, it's a similar view. But if I tap into one of these records, you'll see that the UI style here on my form screen isn't being applied. And so what I'll have to do is I'll have to go into my form screen and scroll down. There's actually a UI style where you have to apply it to the form screen as well. Right. So the list screen has a header, but the form screen also has a header, and so it has to be applied to both screens. These are two different screens, right? This is a form screen and this is a list screen. They both have header patterns. And that's why the UI style isn't being applied to both. So we'll go ahead and bring over the instance state is new to my form screen as well. If I click save, I'll go back and refresh. And I should see it being applied to my form screen as well. Right, so that's a really quick configuration on how you can change the UI styles and apply or make fields pop out for your agent. So now let's go ahead and customize something on the Now Mobile app. All right, I'm just doing a few things that um, simple configurations for my end users that could help uh, their experiences to be more personalized and getting things done. It's much faster and easier to see. And for this customization, what I actually want to do is, quick actions are supported in New York for both apps. And what I'm going to actually do is, I know that as an employee, one of the most common use cases for this employee, for example, is to be able to create new incidents. And so what I want to do is I actually want to create a quick action where I can tap create incident immediately from the home screen. And it's going to be a big round button at the bottom right. So I'm going to create a brand new action from scratch really quick. And in case you don't have previous mobile experience building actions, today will be a quick example of how you can create an action from scratch. So to create a new action, it starts with the action item. I'm going to create a new action item. And what this action is going to be, it's going to be create new incident. And it's going to pull from the incident table. And then this action can be several types. It can be a new, where you create new records. It can be updating an existing record, deleting records, or it can be a script. For this use case, it's creating new records. So I'm going to change the type to new. And then I'm going to click save. Okay. And now I want to create item parameters for the fields that I want my users to input. So for this create new incident, I want my employees to be able to manually insert two fields, one for short description and one for priority. So I'm going to create two parameters. The first one being priority. And this priority field is going to be a string type field. You also have different options as well here. It can be integer, a Boolean for like true and false fields, date time, or an attachment. But for this priority field, it's just going to be a string parameter. I'll click save. I'll refresh this list. And then we'll create one more parameter. And this one's going to be for short description. This is also going to be a string type parameter as well. Okay. So now that I have my two parameters, I have to map it back to my action. So I'm going to select the priority field from this table, from the incident table. Priority. Does priority not live on this table? Priority. Urgency. Okay, fine. It looks like I can't manually change the priority field. That's fine. I'll actually change this to urgency. So I want my employees to control the urgency as well as the short description. So I'm going to choose urgency. And I'm going to map this urgency field that's being pulled from the instance table to this parameter that I just created. So I'm going to map urgency to urgency. And then I'm going to map short description from this instant table to the short description parameter that I just created. Okay, this is basically saying, take these two fields, and I want these two fields to be string type fields. That's all that's going on in this action item. And this is going to be a new, this is going to be an action that updates or creates new records on the instant table, right? So now I have my action item. I'll click update, save changes. And now the next step is I need to create my action function. I'm going to create a new action function here. I'm going to name this create new incident. And this action function is going to use the, I'm going to associate the action item that I just created to this function. So create new incident is what I called it. And here I can control different action behaviors, whether it's to jump to previous screen or show refresh, or be able to allow images uploads, show signatures. All these things I can do and control action behaviors within my action function. And if I have any visibility conditions for my employees, I can apply them here. The table is a required field, so I do need to let it know that this is coming from the instant table, but I'm not going to apply any conditions here. So I'll go ahead and click submit for now. I don't want any additional behaviors on this action, so I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. And the very last step is to create new UI parameters and map UI parameters to the item parameters that I created earlier. So what UI parameters do, these pretty much control the, how your users are going to be inputting the fields on the action. So whether it's, for the urgency, is it going to be an autofill, or do we want the employee to manually input the field, right? Manually select them. And it could be, they can either type it in, or they can pick from a search list, or use a QR barcode if they want. So these are some of the different things that you can do with UI parameters. I'm going to create a UI parameter for short description, or for urgency first. I'm going to make this a mandatory type field. I want the order to be the first field that the user fills in. It's going to be a manually inputted field by the user. And this is going to be a list for the users to select from instead of manually inserting. This is pulling from the instant table. And the field name is urgency. I'm also going to select default value type. That way, if there's already an urgency on this instant, it will show the source field. And this source field is pulling from the instant table using the urgency field. Okay, so now I have all my fields filled in. Now I'll click submit. So that's my first UI parameter for this action. If I refresh, I'll see it there. We'll create one more for short description. So this is going to be short description. This is also going to be a mandatory type field. The order is going to be the second field that they fill in. It's going to be a manually filled in field. And the input type is going to be text, because we want the user to be able to type in whatever they want into the short description. There's not going to be anything from the default value type, so we'll leave it as none, and then we'll go and click submit. Okay. So now we'll refresh. So what we have here is, right, so if we go back to my action items, right, so I created two UI parameters, and it's these two UI parameters are saying, I want the short description and urgency pulling from the instant table to be string type fields. That's what's going on this action item. And on the action function, I want my urgency to be a list type field where users can select from, manually select the different urgencies. And then I want my users to also be able to manually fill in the short description. So that's what's going on in the UI parameters. And now all I have to do is map my item parameters to my UI parameters, and then I'll be done with my action. So let's create a new mapping. We'll map urgency to urgency. And then we'll map short description to short description. Okay, so now I have my parameters mapped. And that's the last step to getting this action working. So now that this action has been created, I just have to associate it to an applet, right? So I want this action to show up as a quick action on the home screen of my Now mobile app. And to do that, I have to, quick actions are something that's configured outside of Mobile Studio. I'm gonna have to do it on Platform UI. So I'm actually gonna navigate outside of Mobile Studio, And I'm going to look up applet launchers. And if you've attended some of our previous sessions, you're familiar that quick actions are something that's done on outside of Mobile Studio. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pull up the applet launchers for Now Mobile. And we're going to open up the home screen, the home page. I'm going to jump into the scope. Which is called ServiceNow Mobile App Screens. And then we'll refresh. Okay, here we go. So once I refresh into the scope, I can see there's a new blank field where I can create new quick actions on this homepage. So let's create a new quick action here. Should be able to insert a new quick action. Am I in the right scope? Let me jump back in. Okay. There we go. Okay. So once you see the insert a new row, you should be able to insert a new quick action. So let's create this new quick action here. We're going to open up a new record on this function instance. A function instance just means location within, it's an action location. This is just our engineering term. So if I click new, give it a second to load. Okay, so I'm going to create a new quick action for create new instance. The parent table for quick actions are always going to be applet launcher. And the parent is basically tell me the name of this applet launcher. So I'm going to click search. The document ID is going to be home. Homepage, because that's what I named this applet launcher. The function is going to be that create a new incident action that I just created. And the label, let's just call it create new incident. This is what the action will look like to your employees when they pop it up. And then the location is going to be quick action. And then I'll go ahead and click submit. And then we'll click save all changes. Now, if I do a refresh from the home screen, I should be able to see my quick action from the home screen. We'll make sure we'll click update to save. Create a new incident. We'll check this out real fast. Let's see, let's troubleshoot real quickly why this isn't showing up. So it's going to be a quick action. It's selecting our create new incident function. It should show up on the home page. Okay. Oh, so let's open up this function and see if I misconfigured anything. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I realized where my mistake is. So if I go back into Mobile Studio, I realized that I forgot to change one thing. So when creating new instance, right, there's this field on the action function that asks for context. So creating new records is always going to be a global context because when you're creating new records, it applies globally as opposed to within a record. when you're updating a record, you'd want the context to be record. So the reason why the action is not showing is because the context is wrong here. So we'll go ahead and update this global. And this should probably fix it. If I refresh, it should show up. We'll double check to make sure it's still being associated to my applet launcher. Homepage, instance here. Let's see, what else could I possibly be missing? Go back to Mobile Studio, global context. There's no conditions, no roles. I have my UI parameters, parameter mappings. Let's check out my action item. Oh, did I not save? That's why. So let's make sure my create new instance has been saved. Save globally, create new instance, parameters, action item. They're mapped. Okay. That's weird. Okay. Quick action. Order. Okay. As a backup plan, maybe I've misconfigured somewhere. I'm actually going to use a create new instance that I created earlier that I know should work. So I'm going to update to this one. Let's see if it pops up. Okay. So I must have misconfigured something. Maybe it's a missing icon or something, but the action does work. Let's see. Let's test this real fast. Okay. So this is how you would associate it. Just because we're running out of time, I'm going to leave it as this create new instance. Hey, Fu, are you online right now? Do you know where I could have possibly misconfigured? That's really odd. That's not showing up. I created my item parameters on the action item.
Yeah, that looks right.
New type. I created my create new function. Change the context to global. There's no conditions.
I would look at the function instance.
The function instance again? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's check that out really fast. I want to make sure there's enough time for questions, so let's speed through this. We'll double check this again.
Is that the one you created?
Oh, you know what? I didn't give it an icon. That's why. So if I give it an icon wrench, let's see if this populates. We need to change this function. Create new instance. Oh, the icon didn't fix it. That's weird.
No, it couldn't be the icon. So the location is there.
That's weird. Okay. Either way, the action works. It's probably a small detail that I must have missed somewhere, but the concept is all there. It's been associated to my now applet as an employee, and now I can create a new instance from my homepage. So let's just change this back to an action that does work. Call this create new instance. We'll refresh on Now Mobile App. And let's create a new instance really fast. Okay. The assignment group will be software or none. Assigned to will be to David. Short description, let's say it's another password reset instant. We'll click submit. Right now, if I create a new instance, if I refresh, I should be able to see my new request within my request applet. So I do a refresh, it's that first record here, right? So these are just, I'm just showing really quick ways to personalize your employee experience as well as your agent experience. I was able to apply UI styles on the agent app for a really quick config. And then on the Now Mobile app, I was able to create a new quick function and applied it to the home screen. So these are just a few modifications that you can do to get started. But for next steps, I actually want to show you additional resources that you can leverage to kind of jumpstart some of the things that you can do to get started with mobile. So I went to mobile community and I opened up this post for mobile migration and getting started guides for Orlando. Although it is updated for Orlando, this is also applied for New York concepts. And if I open up this implementation steps guide, there's a table of contents. So I scroll down. This will show you, different things like out of the box experiences and all the different experiences available in all three apps. What are plugins that you might need, how to migrate to Orlando. And on page 20, actually, there's this 12-step guide that shows you modifying and creating new mobile experiences. And if I scroll down to that page on page 20, these will actually give you a rough template of 12 different steps of all the things you should consider when building mobile end to end, right? So from step one, it's defining the app's purpose to how to customize your user's landing page, how to configure your data items, different screens that you can take advantage of. And, even things like, if I want to consider enabling push notifications or offline, these are things that can help you get started thinking about. This is a great guide to leverage. And if you're new to mobile or you're just getting jump started to mobile, this is definitely a great resource to get started with. And that pretty much wraps up my demo for today's session. Let's go ahead and open up to the audience now. If there's any other questions that we haven't already answered, let's open it up to Q&A. So let's see if we have any questions at the moment. Currently no questions. Okay. On YouTube, for the action functions, a quick resource that you can actually use for quick actions is if you look up mobile fundamentals, ServiceNow, the same steps that I went through today to create a new action function actually already exist. So this was built on a Madrid instance, but the concept doesn't change, and all the steps that you need to create a new action, all the steps are still the same. So you can actually check out this video here. Looks like we have a question for mobile deep linking. We actually did a mobile deep linking in a past Mobile App Academy, I think just 2 weeks ago. So if you look up Mobile App Academy for ServiceNow, you'll see that there's a whole hour and a half on push notifications and deep linking. Good morning. So within this push notifications YouTube video, we actually go through deep linking as well. And there's actually one more resource for deep linking. If I go into my PowerPoints and open up, I believe it's this link, Mobile Advanced Fundamentals, there's actually a step-by-step lab. So these are all the concepts within New York, all the features that we released in New York, and how to configure each one. So if you actually open up our deep linking lab, it'll walk you through step-by-step on what's possible and how to configure. So let me show you that link again in case you didn't get it. So it's going to be bit.ly, oops, /ServiceNow-mobile-dev-advanced. So maybe take a quick screenshot just in case you can use it later. Okay. I'll actually put it in the chat as well, just in case. So let's copy and paste this. There you go.
There's also a function for deep linking. David, do you have that?
Do you want to share your screen real fast? I know we're a little past time. How many?
We probably went over, but there's we have a product doc that does show you
right.
ServiceNow deep linking, and
So let's show that. So you look up deep linking. It's called Mobile Deep Linking Generator.
That's correct.
And it's going to be this first post here.
And that's how you call that function.
Yeah. These are pretty thorough step-by-step instructions here as well. Okay, any other questions before we wrap up? I know we're a little past time. If not, we'll go and wrap up. Okay, so thank you for joining us today. Hope you found this session informative and helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. Continue posting on the community site. And we're going to continue exploring different configurations for future Mobile App Academy sessions. We're going to be having another session in 2 weeks, showing an example of how you can build a very custom and advanced mobile app, and some of the things you can actually do outside of Mobile Studio. So make sure to keep following our mobile community site to get the latest dates and information. Thank you all for joining today's session, and I hope to see you at the next Mobile Academy. Cheers.